Let's move on to actual football.
Well,
okay.
How much football was there, James, yesterday at the Tottenham Stadium?
Well, it's the battle between 8th and 11th. It kind of lived down to its billing.
Who's happier?
It's short-term Tottenham, but arguably longer-term Arsenal. I think if Mourinho set a team up to win a game, or really to win a half of football, because the second half was quintessential Mourinho, wasn't it? Sit deep, try and hit on the break. The most damning thing for Arsenal was that this was a time-honoured game plan, and yet they still fell for it. They still made the mistakes that Mourinho was waiting for Arsenal to make, and really you look at that team and think, well, for all the work that Arteta's doing in terms of their work, particularly with the ball, it's without the ball that they're still.
You mentioned that. I mean, if you're going to press, that's fine. You know that Arteta plays pressing football. If you're up against two strikers and there's always an out ball and the other team boots it long, you need to press a little differently once you realize that they're not going to try to play through you, right? Isn't that pretty obvious?
Yeah,
and go and win the second ball or whatever it is, whichever way you counter it? Well, why didn't Arteta do that?
Because you can hear from the touchline, you can hear Arteta talking them through the press. You can hear it. You can hear him telling the players who to press, where to press, when to go, when not to. And I think yesterday was probably a bit more of an example of where Mourinho's got them a little bit better drilled in that. He's had fractionally longer to work with them, but you suspect that he spends a lot more time on that aspect in training than Arteta would necessarily. I think Arteta's more possession-based. What he wants a possession-based style, obviously similar to Guardiola. I think Mourinho's happy to drill players defensively all day long, so I think they'd probably be a bit more. They're just a bit more attuned to it. And arguably, it probably comes down from a defensive point of view that Spurs have got marginally better defenders than Arsenal. But, the piece I did for the site yesterday, I mean, both of those teams are a world away from being proper Champions League sides because of their defences. They've both got huge issues there at the back this summer. If you look at even at Tottenham, and the irony, of course, of the centre-back scoring the winning goal, fantastic. When you think of, Vertonghen's going to leave, you think Serge Aurier will probably go. They need cover for Ben Davis. Alderweireld's arguably not the defender he was a year or two ago. And then Arsenal, where do you start? All three centre-backs yesterday, all three centre-backs for Arsenal gave the ball away in the opening 90 seconds under minimal pressure. And it really set the tone for the kind of errors that they were going to make at the back. And it was really no surprise that, the two goals that they conceded, the types of goals that they conceded, because, they were always coming, those errors.
All right, we're going to leave you with a bold prediction here, and we will hold you to this. We will hunt you down. Who's going to make the Champions League first out of these two teams?
And when? In which year? In which decade?
I have to say, it looks bleak for these two because of the wider.
Yes, that's why we're asking the question. Who's going to make the Champions League first? I know you're stalling for time here.
Which year?
Who is better placed to make the Champions League first and when? Oh, it's tough. We got him on the spot.
It's on your debut. You didn't have to sing, but you have to give prediction.
Tottenham in 2 years.
Tottenham in 2 years. There you go, Jules. You don't like that.
We will remember. No, I mean, I don't mind. Listen, it's a great win for them. They were very pragmatic, I thought. But don't give me that 4-4-2 thing. What chance did they create from that 4-4-2 formation? Tell me. What goal or chance came directly from the formation and from the way they played?
But they're bypassing the press.
Yeah, but
so
did they create
why are
anything?
You going and tiring your players out and pressing them?
Did they create anything by bypassing the press anyway?
No, but they're getting the ball at the other end.
Was all about, look, the 4-4-2 from Mourinho worked so well. It didn't work. They scored 2 goals on 2 mistakes that Arsenal gifted to them, right?
He's always so mean to Mourinho.
No, I'm not. And it's good on Mourinho. He was pragmatic and he was right. But that 4-4-2, you still hardly created anything for Kane, and the chance that he had at the end created to himself. The front two didn't really link up with each other, and then they scored 2 goals that were gifted by Arsenal. So don't give me the Mourinho outsmarted Arteta tactically. I don't think so.
All right, James.
One point just to make on the press. Very quickly on the press is that Arsenal conceded 9 goals in the 75th minute or later in matches, and I do think there's something in that. I think if it's fatigue, whether it's it probably is fatigue, you'd say, given the timing of the matches. I think they're going to take a little bit of time to get the requisite fitness levels to go and press the way he wants for the whole game. We've seen it, I know teams that press a lot, they tend to tire, even the great Barcelona side used to do that under Guardiola. So, it's not something unique to Arsenal, but I do think that's an indication that it's something that's very much a work in progress for them.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube, and for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app, and for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.